following is a digital media production.
Hey, what's up, my beautiful people? I love you, and I thank you for being here. Man, we got my dog, my boy, Kevin Frazier from Entertainment Tonight. Stay tuned, and also I'm going to catch you up with my week out in Mexico.
Playbook Incorporated presents the Ocho Cinco and Dukes podcast, powered by digital media. Find your voice.
We're talking sports with 85. PODCAST podcast with your boys Chad and PODCAST 85. Chad is Duke.
Welcome to the Ocho Cinco and Dukes podcast, powered by digital media. And Chad, what's going on in Ocho's world?
Man, my world is beautiful. I feel good. I look good.
Hey, hang on a second.
I'm loving everybody.
Excuse me 1 second. Me and the people are missing something.
I told you I love you a long time ago.
No, but today's a new day.
It's a new day. It's a new podcast, and I love you.
Okay, thank you. Now so you were saying, I apologize for the interruption.
No, I mean, life is beautiful. I feel good. I look good. You know what? I had this wonderful goal each day, and I set a goal to wake up and love at least 200 people in passing each day, and it's been going wonderful.
So that's here in the States. But Ocho's World actually went international last week. You were in Mexico?
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed it. You know, it's my second time coming.
So what were you doing there?
Thank God ESPN Deportes invited me back to do NFL Live for a week. So I went back to Mexico to enjoy the great atmosphere and great environment of being at ESPN Deportes in Mexico City, in Santa Fe, Mexico, and talked about, you know, the playoff games and the Cam and the Peyton matchup and the outlook on who I thought was going to win. And it was great. I really enjoyed it. The people are so nice, man. The people are so nice. Just everything about Mexico City is awesome. And I'm just thankful they even invited me back for a second round.
So walk me through this now. So in Mexico City, because I didn't realize actually ESPN Deportes headquarters was actually, they had a studio there, but it would make sense. So was there any soccer involved? Did you catch a soccer match? Did you go play soccer like you normally do?
Listen, this is the funny thing. With them knowing that I'm so good at FIFA. Only in Mexico City will they make FIFA 16 a part of an NFL segment because I'm there. And they made FIFA 16 a part of the segment where I was able to beat one of their counterparts that supposedly thought he was good in FIFA, but unfortunately he did lose. 5-1.
5-1.
5-1.
So you were just...
It was beautiful. And then this is also what I have to tell you. Mm-hmm. Not only in the relationships that I'm building there, I'm telling you, at some point, I don't know when it's going to happen, but the man upstairs is going to bless me and things are going to get back to normal because, you know, they haven't been. I've just been treading water through life, you know, for a while. I'm just going to be honest with you, you know. But I had the opportunity to have dinner, you know, because of a relationship that I built a long time ago, playing around on Twitter. I tweeted, I wonder how do I get in touch with Carlos Slim. For those of you who don't know, Carlos Slim is, right now, he might be the richest man in the world. He's in the telecommunications in Mexico. And I was playing around on Twitter 3 or 4 years ago. And, of course, Carlos Slim didn't have Twitter, but they sent me the Twitter account of his right-hand man, who is Arturo Elias, who runs everything for him. So it's funny, my previous trip before this one to Mexico, Arturo Elias must have saw the tweets that I was coming, and he DM'd me on Twitter, and I was like, wow, this is cool. This is dope. And I'm like, yeah, how you doing? You know, we talked a long time ago, and I asked to sit down with Carlos Slim, talk about some business. And the funny thing, he comes to dinner with us. He shows up to dinner with all the ESPN execs and the analysts that work there, and he tells the story about me tweeting, wanting to sit down with Carlos Slim. So he sends me his phone number, right?
Uh-huh.
and Arturo says, well, yeah, so what type of business do you want to talk about with Carlos Slim? And he tells the story at the end. I'm like, I don't know. That's the point of me trying to get in touch with him to find out what type of business I can do.
What's going on, player?
Yeah, what's going on? Hey, let me tell you, everybody bust out laughing for about 20 minutes straight. It was so funny because I had no plan.
Right.
I had no nothing. I just know Well, shoot, you're a billionaire. I'm sure you got all the answers.
Right,
Tell
right.
me what to do.
Right.
Dog, it was so funny, Jamie. It was so funny. So in the second trip, man, they invited me to the house for dinner. So I did my last segment with NFL Live in Mexico. Went to dinner with Arturo. They invited me to the house. What I tell you, man, Jamie, when I tell you I've never seen a house like this before, and I've seen it all. You know, because I've been around. Right. It's just a different ball game. Jamie, it's a different ball game.
Let me ask you this: did you take any pictures?
No, I did. I felt that was disrespectful for allowing me to come into your home.
Right. No, I'm just curious if maybe they let you have some.
You know what I do have though? I have the visual. The visual. It's in my memory bank. In my memory bank. It's unbelievable. When I think about, you have Hollywood, you have athletes, you got the baseball players, the big houses, and you think Hollywood, and you think mansions. Jamie, it's another ball game.
it's a building.
It's a completely different ball game, and man, it's a blessing. It's a blessing to me to be able to rub shoulders with those type of individuals, especially thinking of where I come from. I don't know, something good is going to happen, man. I don't know what it is.
I know what it is. I know what it is, and we could talk about that a little bit more. But I want to stay right here for a second and kind of drill down into something that I think that you've tapped into that I believe is important for our listeners, especially our younger listeners. One of the things that I always say is that if you're the smartest person, you're a fool.
Ooh.
If you're the smartest person, you're a fool. I tell kids all the time when I speak to them, college, executives, whomever, you always need to surround yourself with somebody who is greater than you. And I'm not talking about financially, whether it be intellectually, just to broaden your horizons. And what you're speaking to right now is exactly what a lot of other young people need to do when you talk about, I don't know what it is that I want to do, but you knew who you needed to be with.
Yeah, and then not only did I know who, I shot all the way to the top.
Right.
They say you're supposed to crawl before you walk. I just went for the gusto. I just went for the gusto. Just playing around 4 or 5 years ago, and now just that one moment came into fruition to where I'm able to rub shoulders. With one of you get the point. Unbelievable.
Yeah, but it's worth articulating though. From your perspective and what you feel and ideas you might feel are something that younger folks can understand from that standpoint.
Right.
But yeah, that it just kind of blew me away. And speaking of blowing me away, dog, I saw your little skating thing. Oh, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm really, I'm not jealous. I'm not, the reason most people like me is because I don't get into their space. But I got to admit to you, the pictures you showed me, I'm jealous because when I was a kid, everybody, there was always roller skating night, and it was like, for us, it was Tuesday night, and you was going to go out there in high school and you was going to the roller skating ring. I couldn't skate. I could be on roller skates.
Right.
But the pictures, and we put the video up on our Facebook page, dog. You were you were the dude I hated. Smooth. You were the dude I hated because you could skate. How did that come about?
And this is a funny thing. It's a funny thing. I started rolling when I was in LA. This is how I got into roller skating because I'm from Miami. Where I'm from in Liberty City, we don't roller skate. That ain't what you do. That ain't in our DNA in Liberty City where I'm from. I get to LA in 1997. I'm fresh. I'm at Santa Monica Community College. I meet a couple of fellas, on campus, and they say, we going out Friday night. And I'm like, where we going? And they said skating. And I looked at them crazy. I said, what you mean you going skating? Like y'all going to watch skating? I'm thinking roller derby or something, where, women are going to be. And they like, nah, we going roller skating. I'm thinking like, that's like a little iffy, bro. We don't rock like that down where I'm from. So I go. I'm new in town. We go to World on Wheels in Los Angeles, California. We go to World on Wheels, and I show up, and when I get there, it's a different ball game. It's like a club.
Right. Right.
I mean, your dudes who are dudes, you know, your street dudes, like everybody's there, and they rolling. Like Jamie, they really rolling. Like they really own that. Like that's what they do. So I'm at World on Wheels, and I'm looking, and these dudes, where I would think it would make me uncomfortable to say and be home in Miami, be like, yeah, I'm going skating, and look at everybody stand laugh at me.
Right.
Like this is what they really do. They out there rolling, Jamie. They're street dudes, the girls, your nerds, whatever you want to call it, everybody is rolling. And after seeing that and seeing those dudes out there and the women falling in love with the guys that can really roll, that can skate and do all the tricks and turns and like in the routine, you know, I just started. I said, I have to learn. I got to be able to get out there and hold my own at some point. And over the years, I got better and better and better. And I remember maybe it took me.
Yeah, but how long did it take you? How long? Like, because I'm thinking you've been skating since you were 4. The way you skate, the way you move with your ankle flexion and all of that, you look like you. I'm serious. You know, I'm a studier. I mean, that's what I do. You know, I study. That's what I did in football. I mean, you look like you've been skating ever since you got off mama's nipple. I mean, that's how. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I started in '97. That in '97, and what I would do was, because I wasn't good at it, instead of going to the 7-to-7 session where all the good skaters were. I would go to an early session where there was really nobody there, and I would get my headphones, put my headphones on, and I would watch them on Friday night and visualize what I need to work on.
Right.
And I go in and practice it and practice it and practice it. It took me about my third year before I went to Oregon State. Before I went to Oregon State in 2000, like 99, I had everything down to a T. I had it down to a T, and it was all about muscle memory from that point on. And when it really got good was when I was in Cincinnati. In Cincinnati, I would go skating after every game. Of course, we play at 1 o'clock. And they had a session in Cincinnati from 7 p.m. to 12 midnight that I didn't miss for a decade straight. Every Sunday when we played at home, I was at that skate place, and it really helped, especially after a game. You're always sore.
Right,
so I just get all that soreness right out, and I didn't feel as bad the following morning. I loved it.
That lactic acid, that is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And
that's one of the things, when people see me skate, they're like, oh, my goodness.
Bro,
man, this
you
dude
can skate.
Can really roll.
Bro, you can skate.
And another thing that surprises people is the fact that I can dance salsa, merengue, bachata, and like they're like, dude, are you Spanish? Like I can.
Yeah, but see, that makes more sense to me, Chad. Your hips, again, because as a football player, what you did, the movement, and I know it's different, because we saw what Jerry talked about it, even Michael Irvin talked about it with Dancing with the Stars. It's different. But what I'm saying, though, but still, you always had hips. Get skinny when you need to get skinny. So I could see you being able to dance. But skating, that's a whole nother level of dexterity that when I was watching you, I was like, dude, that was crazy.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Last thing we talked in Ocho's world, and this, this is something that another tweet came up. And he fortunately he came and called foul on it too. Kanye and Wiz Khalifa, they got it. They've been getting into it on Twitter. It was brutal. Okay. But we know, and same thing like in the locker room. Leave the wife and the kids.
Yeah.
They're off limits. Yeah. And Kanye went there.
Yeah, he did. He did. You know what? And I saw it. I saw it, and the first thing I thought about, for one, when two people go at it, or you're arguing with your girl, or just anyone, you always hear first of all, second of all, and third of all. Mm-hmm. That's natural. Man, Kanye went all the 17th. I ain't never heard 17th of all. And he went to 17th. And it seemed kind of personal to me.
Oh yeah.
In a sense, it seemed personal to me. And honestly, I don't know. For some reason, I think he still has feelings, maybe for Amber, because it was too much effort. Too much effort put into the comeback. And Wiz said two things and went back to probably smoking weed, and we ain't heard from him since. But Ye just kept going on and on and on. And he's a friend of mine. Wiz is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
So I kind of I stay out of it.
Right, right.
I don't know, but anytime you're arguing, man, you never, ever.
And it's public though. But that's the thing. that's the thing that bothers me about it, and unfortunately, at the center of that many times has to do with relationships with women that they've had, and sour grapes one way or another, and then the young lady that Kanye used to be, Amber, basically saying now he's this or that. It's just like, wow, man, we got to do that to each other.
This is why all I do is just preach and practice loving everybody, because regardless of who you dealt with in the past, in the future, there will always be something bad that can be said about everyone you cross paths with. Everyone. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Nothing is perfect. Everything doesn't end well. It's just everything has an ending to it. But just like I don't know. I just can't bring myself to do it. And I've been in some of the worst situations, like myself. I got in trouble 5 years ago for doing some dumb, the dumbest mistake I could ever make, and I completely regret it. Mm-hmm. And I've yet till this day to say anything bad about that individual.
Right.
Even knowing that it was my fault. Just knowing, I just can't bring myself to be negative in any light. I lost my temper for whatever reason for 3 seconds, and it cost me a lifetime worth of work. Mm-hmm. And that 3 seconds is always a reminder why I always keep loving. Right. I think people always wonder, why does Chad always tweet I love you? Why does he always say I love you 24/7, like all the time? And it's something I've been doing since high school. And I always tell people, dude, I lost my temper for 3 seconds and lost a lifetime's worth of work.
Yep.
I can't get that back, Jamie.
Yep.
That is why I continuously say I love you 24/7, because them 3 seconds I stopped loving, everything was gone. Everything.
Let me ask you this on that note. And, you and I and Dion, we had, a conversation a couple weeks ago about, king and king. And I, one of the things that I look to, and I'll just say it this way, I see guys, and I'm not saying that this is you. It may be you. It may not be you and your situation. Mm-hmm. I see guys, like I go back to like the Orlando scam thing. I see guys who, and here's how I look at it. You mentioned Liberty City. Guys who, a guy might have come from, Pawtucket Falls, Wisconsin, and he's growing up, he's watched TV, he's seen it, and he's seen this celebrity be with this celebrity. And I've often felt that sometimes guys go, for the fame of it and look at relationships for the fame of it. Like, for example, like with Andre Rison, who I love dearly. But Andre Rison was in love with Left Eye. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, and I forgive me for this, and I know it's not all about physical, but Left Eye was built like a little boy. I mean, I didn't know what she was built like a little boy. And then when she left him to go back to see Tupac when he got out of jail, so Dre went from her to it was either Lisa Leslie or some other a famous female basketball player, and it was like,
right.
Dude is so set on being with somebody famous, instead he's missing out on being with somebody that maybe he might potentially love them. Part of me that's why I follow the Scandrick thing, and he kind of reminds me of that. The Drea young lady, she's got a bigger brand than he does, and she, not to mention, now she's fine as hell. So I want to make sure we have that part clear. But when people start doing things like that to you. And again, and I'm not talking about whether he loves her or not, but I've always just kind of felt a little funny about celebrity relationships and the motives behind guys getting with other folks. What made you, how did our relationship kind of start, I guess would be the question.
Funny story.
All right.
I had a Super Bowl party. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, when the Colts played the Chicago Bears that season, I had a Super Bowl party at a mansion on... was it Star Island? Some mansion on Star Island. And, T.O. was there, Coach Lewis, some of the Bengal coaches came because everyone was down to the Super Bowl. So, I had a party at this mansion. And so, just so happened, I'm assuming I didn't see them, but they must have been filming Basketball Wives at the time, must have come through and come by and came too early, and they were filming. So I guess when the show aired, I think Evelyn must have said something slick about the house that was rented on the island, about the smell or something, because it was on the water, obviously. It was on the water. Said something slick about the smell, And so people tweeted me saying, "Oh, Evelyn is talking about your house on the show." And so I said something slick via Twitter, without even knowing what was said or actually seeing it, and I just started talking shit. And I don't remember what it was. I said, I'm sure I could probably pull it up. Geez, that was so long ago.
Right.
And so I'm sure I can find it. But I said something like maybe two or three things, and then she fired back and said something. She fired back and said something, and I don't know what happened. So I let it go. Maybe 2 or 3 days went by, and the actual episode was on again, and I watched it. And, dude, it wasn't that bad. So I felt bad for lashing out without watching it and seeing what was said.
Okay, so let me stop you there. It's always Pookie. Now, this is a lesson for everybody to know. Always Pookie is the one who's flaming something. So you got beat up. This, look here, dog. Evelyn said you got 4 eyes with no teeth and you got a pot belly. And she didn't say that, but that's what Pookie does. So anyway, go ahead with your story. I just want to stop in there and punch Pookie in the head for a second.
So, man, after seeing a little clip, man, I felt bad because, for one, I tweeted publicly, and I really felt bad. So I followed her, and she followed me back at some point, and I sent her a DM apologizing for my mistake and for coming out of the next sideways. I didn't say anything like that bad, but I was just firing back.
Right.
And I said, when I come home to Miami, I owe you dinner. And, it's a McDonald's restaurant of your choice. And that direct message is how it all started. And that first date, we went right to McDonald's, and that's where it went. It started from there.
Did you play Uno to see who was going to pay? Or since she came that far, you had to go ahead and you didn't go into the Uno then?
Nah, we didn't do the Uno thing.
Nah, so you punked out is what you're saying then?
No, not really, because we were at McDonald's, so through the drive-thru, you really didn't have an opportunity to.
Oh, come on, Chad. I mean, I thought that was the way of life. It was, well, anyway, that's all right.
You got to build your way to the Uno date. So we at McDonald's. McDonald's, you're going through the drive-thru. There's no need for it. So when you go on the second or third date, you actually have to sit down somewhere.
Right.
Then you pull the Uno cards out.
Oh, okay. We're trying to get this down because I know there's some rules and some rhyme or reason, but you got
to crawl before you walk. You got to work your way to the restaurants where you actually get to sit down and talk and eat.
So after you guys meet, you move forward, then it just kind of just takes off. And it just like anything, you meet, the dopamine is out the roof, the physical attraction, how it is. Right.
So it was all great. I mean, we know how it ended. And,
right.
It is what it is.
Yeah, but let me ask you the last thing on that. What at any point did you have questions? And I know because when you go to get married and being one of the world's most famous bachelors, which you were, that is taking you in a whole nother direction.
One of the things that I do that I'm extremely good at, which most people don't do, or most men don't do, I explain me, how I operate, how I've always been,
And what is that? Just, you say, me, what is me?
The truth.
Like I hang out, I like,
I don't hang out, but it's something I care not to share right now.
Okay, checking.
If we're dealing on that level, or wanting to go there, like sometimes expectations that come with title or maybe a commitment, sometimes they're a bit unrealistic, And I just wanted to make things clear, like I do with anyone. I like to make things clear from jump. What are you expecting? Right. What are you expecting? Because over an extended period of time, things tend to change. So I want to make sure we're on the same page, so this can work. This whatever it is you want to be or whatever you want to build or go forward, let's be realistic about it, please. And that's all. That's all. Okay. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Some like the dream, some like the truth.
When did you get the sense that it wasn't going to work? How far in?
I don't know.
It just happened you woke up one day and you went, uh-oh.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
Right.
I messed up, I messed up, and that's a topic.
Oh, but what you're saying is the event, though. So in other words, the turning point for you basically was the event itself, that particular conversation or disagreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what I did was I don't know. It's hard to explain right now. It's hard to explain that we have to have a whole hour show on just that, because we'll be talking all day.
The reason I asked that question, because generally when you see things go sour in relationships, this has just kind of been historically, a series of events happen. And not so much events, but a series of, it's just all of a sudden over time, couple drifts apart. All of a sudden over time, da-da-da-da-da-da. And so for you to say that, that one instance of the argument or the disagreement that led to the da-da-da-da-da, and that was the moment. That's generally not the norm. But anyway, that's an extended version of Ocho's World. You're listening to the Ocho Cinco and Dukes podcast, powered by Digital Media.
It's the Ocho Cinco and Dukes podcast.
Oh, yes, it is that time for the big game. And I know a lot of you are looking for tickets right now, so I want to tell you about my friends at SeatGeek. Our friends at SeatGeek have an incredible deal for you. Now, first of all, let me tell you what SeatGeek actually is. You've seen Kayak, where they aggregate, or Expedia, they aggregate travel benefits and this, that, and the other. Well, SeatGeek does the exact same thing with sporting events and concert tickets. And what I like about it, and what we like about it, is that they've got a grading system. They grade every single ticket on a 0 to 100 basis. And so therefore you're going to get a rating on the ticket. And you're not going to get any surprises either, because like when you go out there and you look at StubHub and some of the stuff they do, go back to some of the games that you've seen in previous days, StubHub is going to charge you hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars in additional fees when you get to the checkout. You're not going to get that with SeatGeek. And Chad, you are such a giving person. We have a special, very special offer. You have a very special offer to all first-time users of SeatGeek. You're giving them a what kind of rebate?
I'm going to give them $20 rebate.
$20. Is that $20. Pennies, nickels, dime? How's that come? Does it come in a box? Does it come in a leather case?
A big 20. You could do a lot of things with a $20 bill.
If you go out on SeatGeek, and I'll tell you how to go ahead and do that just momentarily. If you go to SeatGeek and download the app, and you're looking for tickets for the big game, Chad, first of all, we need a promo code. What code should we give them? Because you got a special gift you want to offer. So what's the promo code?
We got to go with Ocho. We got to go with Ocho.
OCHO. And so if you buy tickets to the big game on SeatGeek, Chad, how much money are you going to give them back?
Make it $100. Why
C note? Not a C note.
Make it a C note. Why not?
Ooh. So all you got to do is download the free SeatGeek app. And then when you go to the settings section, click on the add promo code. In that add promo code, we're adding what promo code again, Chad?
Ocho. OCHO.
OCHO. And SeatGeek will send you one if you're just getting tickets to a concert event or other games, sporting games. They'll give you $20. But if you're going to the big game, what we doing?
$100.
Wow. Download the SeatGeek app right now. Enter the promo code Ocho. Joining us now, the great, the incomparable, the guy that's always got a smile more than I have a smile and more than Chad had a smile. Kevin Frazier joined us. Kevin, man, thanks for joining us today, bro.
Jamie, come on, anything. You and Chad, come on now. Y'all just call. I'm coming.
I got to settle something now. I got to have you settle something. It's not really settled. Chad, I don't know if you've seen him out there. Chad is an skating extraordinaire. I mean, and I always wanted to kind of be that guy, but I was too big. Were you a skater when you were in high school?
I skated a little bit. We had a roller rink, and that's also the place when you were in middle school where you had to go to meet girls. Like the roller skating rink. If you wanted to meet any girls, you had to go to the roller skating rink. That's where everything went down. So I skate a little bit. I ice skate too.
Oh, really?
See, that's what I'm saying.
Ice skate. I can't touch the ice. I can't do that.
I will say this. Chad has more swag than I do. He has moves that I don't have.
Oh, you should see him too. You should see the ankles, man. Oh, I mean, he's skating backwards, got the beat going, got his hoodie going. I wanted to be that guy. I know
who you're talking about. That's the guy that all the girls were like, oh, and he could skate backwards on the couples and do little tricks.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yes.
That used to kill me. Couples only, but I can barely skate backwards. And then there's this dude who's like doing little turns and stuff, crossing his feet and stuff, and you're like, man, let me go sit down with my boys.
You Entertainment Tonight. Oh, by the way, I got to give you a thank you also. And for people who don't know this, and I've never shared this with you publicly, we go way back to my first days of working in television doing games. You were at Fox at the time and working in studio with Kellen Winslow, and you were always so gracious to me. And the reason I bring this up has to do with, I saw your birthday tweet to Oprah and, your thoughts on, what Oprah has meant to you and your career.
It's funny because making the transition from sports to entertainment, it was a little different, but there are certain titans in the industry, people that those interviews carry weight. And Oprah Winfrey's interviews carry weight. And so it was first getting access to her. Then from there, being invited into the circle so you can see things and do things and, that invitation always being extended. Man, I'm going to tell you something. Oprah's last show that she did, she had a party afterwards. And AJ Calloway, who works for one of the competitors, and I, we're like, we're just going to go to the party, man. We got to go in and get in the party. And we snuck in the party. And Oprah knew we snuck in the party. And she should have and could have put us out. Security could have got us. But instead, she came over, gave me a hug, and was like, are you having fun? And that's when you're like, come on now. And the same Democratic National Convention, Barack Obama's first time when he was running for the presidency. And I'm searching all over, looking for Oprah, and I finally find the box she's in. And here comes Oprah, Kanye West, Forrest Whitaker, and they're all heading down to go talk to Obama after he has accepted the Democratic nomination. By all accounts, she should have blown by and gone. Oprah was like, she came out, she gathered everybody up and stopped and gave me a soundbite that went worldwide. She knew at that moment she was stopping and giving something special. And I realized it too, and I appreciated that moment. And then after that, I went in and ate her pie in her box that she left because I was hungry. But the thing is like time and time again, whether it's her Legends Ball or other things, Oprah's made sure that I'm there and stopped and looked out. And I understand the power that she has. And I just want to make sure she knows I appreciate that, because no one gets there on their own. And so I appreciate her. She's a titan.
It's funny, Chad, we were talking, and who was that person for you that kind of looked out for you? You were Chad, you were who you were, but who was that person?
You know what? When I think about it, and I'm thinking about from a perspective of, I think my highlight and my platform was the NFL. And when I think about the person that is responsible for that crossover and allowing me to succeed, it's between Charles Collins, who had been a father figure for me, and once I actually got through that door, I would have to say Marvin Lewis. No, those two were that foundation. They were that concrete that I needed, that solid foundation to keep me going, and I kind of took care of the rest.
And when you say took care of the rest, I mean, when Marv, because when you think about Marvin, I think he's a guy that, and we're not talking necessarily sports, we're kind of talking life here a little bit. But, you know how you have, Kevin, there are people who are misunderstood. And there are people 100%. Who, for some reason, Marvin's the kind of guy that everybody, they want Marvin to get fired. And I'm just talking about when you look and listen around. Well, Andy Dalton's lost 4 games, Roy does this. Marvin Lewis should be fired. I mean, it's like, how do we get here? Who's that person, I guess, in the entertainment world that no matter what they do, they just can't seem to get the respect that they're due for, their genius?
It's interesting because there are a lot of people like that. Like this year, everybody's saying like Leonardo DiCaprio's finally going to win an Oscar and get the respect he deserves, and he'll finally get that award. But I mean, I look at it, I see older guys, I look at younger guys. Among the young guys, who I feel that a person who doesn't get enough respect is Michael B. Jordan. I think this guy is going to be a titan. I mean, I think that Michael B. Jordan is going to be an acting titan. And during award season, he's not getting the love for what the stuff he's doing, from Fruitvale Station to Creed to some of the other smaller things he's done. Michael brings it every time he steps on the camera, and I'm just, I just wish Hollywood would recognize, as quick as Jennifer Lawrence got a lot of love really quick.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm like, Michael, and I'm not knocking her game or anything. She is fantastic. But I feel Michael is that kind of actor on that level and should be getting recognition also.
Let me add, Chad, has to tell you, he blew my mind. Last week we were talking about the Oscars and the Oscar snubs, and Chad talked about the roles of certain characters and, the Oscars that we get. Go ahead, Chad. I can't even steal it. That just blew my mind.
So last week I explained, for one, I gave my thoughts on what I felt about the Oscars and tried to shed light. Look at the roles that we are rewarded for in winning. Just go down the list, and I'm not going to get into it in depth. But those who have won Oscars, look at the roles that they have won, and I'm going to leave it at that.
I get it. I get exactly what you're saying. And here's what I'm going to say to you, Chad. And you have to look at something from even a historical perspective. And if we go all the way back to the first African-American Oscar winner, Hattie McDaniel, and I will say this, she won for Gone with the Wind, and she won as a Mammy, but she was not going to be nominated at first because by getting a nomination for Best Supporting Actress, she was going up against one of her own actresses in the movie. So finally they nominated her, and everyone knew ahead of time that she had won the Oscar. A list had leaked out. Even though she was the Oscar winner, the Oscars that night were held in a segregated hotel. So favors had to be asked, and they had to make a special arrangement to even get her in the room that night to accept her Oscar. And when she came, she didn't sit with the Gone with the Wind cast. She sat in the corner against the wall with her agent. So I just say you have to look at historically where you're coming from and understand that. And also you have to look at the situation from the fact that the Oscars are the Oscars, and the voters are the voters, and they're going to do what they want to do. And I just feel that there has to be a place where we say, okay, I get it. That's what you're going to do. And I understand. And you can do that. But I'm going to also make sure that I really honor the NAACP Image Awards. I'm going to make sure that we make sure everybody goes to the ALMA Awards and we cover the ALMA Awards. I make sure that we understand that there are places that you can go and we can see the people recognized that we believe should be recognized in those places. And I'm not going to argue with the Oscars. I'm not going to ask them to don't change. You do you. You do you. And I think that's what Jada said. She said, Oscars, you're good. Don't change. Just don't look for me. I get it.
One of the things that I guess the question, and help us understand, because I actually don't know who the voters actually are. So can you navigate kind of talking through the process a little bit?
There are thousands of voters, first of all, that everyone has to understand. There's thousands of voters, but the average voter is a white male at 63 years old, and that's your average voter. Okay. And so you have to understand your voter base to understand why some of the choices are made that are made. Mm-hmm. I really loved Straight Outta Compton. I am an African-American man who grew up with that music. When I was at college, that NWA album exploded on the scene. We would sit around just listening to the record over and over again. So that movie about that time period made sense to me. That's why movies about the 50s or reminiscing about the 40s and whatever always resonated with the voting crowd, because maybe that's when they were around and when they were what meant everything to them. So that's why I look at that voting process and say, if you radically change it, then you change the way that organization is, and you're asking that organization to kind of be something it's not. And that's real and honest. You're asking that organization to do something they haven't done during their entire lifespan.
I'm conflicted on something that Chad also said on this, and I'm going to let you tell it too, Chad, about biting off your money. And I want to hear your thoughts on this as well, Chad.
I don't know if I'm wrong. Well, I really can't be wrong, but we are talking about boycotting Oscars. But that's also, to me, is biting the hand that feeds you, or biting the hand that is in position to get you where you want to be. because all of the heavy hitters, all of the power players, all the people that are able to make the moves for you to be successful or to be in a position to be one of the best are the ones you're telling you're getting ready to boycott.
But I say this, Chad. Here's what I say about that. And that's where I think there has to be a revolutionary change. Look at a movie like The Butler. The Butler wasn't going to get made. Lee Daniels had to scrape and run all around the place and get international investing to get that movie made. And even when they thought they had the movie made, to finish the movie, Michael Finley, the NBA player, stepped in and also was one of the huge investors and executive producers in that movie. And when that movie was out and it was getting all its accolades, it was great to see Michael Finley there because he's one of the people who made that happen. They did not go a traditional route because Hollywood didn't want to make that movie. They didn't. That movie had been around forever. So they went out. They have 41 executive producers on that movie. And Lee Daniels, to his credit, busted his butt and brought together a very diverse group that made that movie happen. Same with Birth of a Nation, the new Nate Parker movie. Nate Parker wanted to make this movie and tell this story. He couldn't get it done. And I sat on a panel with Nate where he talked about being in Savannah, sitting there and wondering if the financing that he got from this guy in Europe and some other people was even going to come through, that he had brought all these people together. He may not make this movie. He made the movie. It just sold for the highest price ever in Sundance history at $17.5 million, and he did it on his own because nobody in Hollywood wanted to make that movie. So what I'm saying is that sometimes we have to stop and look and say, look, here are the movies we want to make that can be Oscar contenders and that can do stuff, and we have to go ahead and find unconventional means and finance them and get them done. And it'll be interesting to see if that starts to happen. Maybe we need to get guys to move away from record labels and start making movies or whatever. But there's a lot. We have to look at different ways to get these things done.
Speaking of record labels, the funny, I'm out in L.A. right now, and I flew out with not Benzino, Love and Hip Hop. Who's the guy? He's dating the girl who beat him up or something like that. What's that cat's name? But I'm mentioning it all this to say it because I'm looking at one of the other, great things about you, Kevin, is just, your entrepreneurial spirit and particularly saying in the injury. And by the way, that sound you're hearing is Chad lighting a cigar, just in case you know. HipHollywood.com. Talk to me about HipHollywood.com. Great, clean site, very insightful. What gave you the idea to come up with that?
It's really funny that, and this goes back to the thing we were talking about with the movies. I would, when I got to Entertainment Tonight, I realized that there were stories that meant something to me, not necessarily a mainstream audience, because Entertainment Tonight has 22 minutes. They have the biggest stories in the world and the biggest entertainers and the biggest interviews. But there are other smaller things that mean something to me. And I noticed that there was a void in there. What there was there a bunch of people doing blogs and telling stories and grabbing pictures and saying, ooh, child, this one did this and this one did that. And I was like, what if somebody did actual great interviews to talk about the movies, the books, the shows that are on TV, and actually went and interviewed those people and got the real information and did it in a professional way. So that's why I started Hip Hollywood. And it really set me off is one day I was with Usher, his ex-wife, and their baby. And this was about a year before they got divorced. And I read on a blog where this girl said, Usher seen out last night running around. He's getting divorced, and his wife they're fighting and everything. So I literally picked up the phone and called the girl on the blog and just said, hey, that's not true. I just want to tell you. And she said, you don't know. I know because a girl who is an assistant to a friend of, and I was like, oh, okay, it's one of those stories. And she said, no, I got it cold. And I'm like, I'm standing with Usher holding his baby, and his wife is sitting right there. And so at that point, I was like, look, I just have to do it and just get the interviews and put my money where my mouth is. And that's what Hip Hollywood is about, putting my money where my mouth is. And so we have crews like yesterday. I had a crew at the SAG Awards. We covered the SAG Awards. And no different than whether it's Entertainment Tonight Middle East or whether it's Telemundo, or there are different perspectives that need to be told about every story. And that's what Hip Hollywood is about, telling it from an urban perspective. And that's just, I couldn't sit there in good conscience and complain about something unless I was willing to do something about it.
It's funny. You mentioned the SAG Awards, and I want to ask both of you guys this. Chad, I'm going to start with you. You guys have been, you guys have been to the event of the event. Globally, all over the world, from your FIFA stuff and all that with you, Chad.
Chad's been in better parties than me. Yeah. I will say that. Yeah. He gets in better parties than me.
But I want to know from both of you, and I'll give you a couple of them because I won't even restrict you to one. Start with you, Chad. What is the place or the event you just have to do once in your lifetime?
You see, the place or event I have to do once in my lifetime. That's a very good one.
No, but I'm talking about stuff you've already done. I'm not saying something you wishing. I mean, something something you experienced that you go, I will never ever forget this thing or this. Because I don't know if it's the FIFA World Championships or if it's the Super Bowl or if it's the Academy Awards.
You know what? No, I've never been to any Academy Awards. But the one event or the one thing that truly sticks out that is unbelievable would probably be soccer event in Spain. When Real Madrid and Barcelona played, I've never seen that atmosphere. I've never felt that type of feeling before, where I wasn't even playing and I had butterflies and just that. It was unbelievable, unbelievable.
And it's funny that Chad mentions that because I took my entire family, because we're Barcelona fans, to Barcelona.
Barcelona sucks.
To see them play, and they have dominated the Clasico lately. But anyway. To see them play, and it is otherworldly because the passion of the fans, and that's my thing is every time I go to Europe, the last time I was in London, I make sure that I arrive on a night where I can go out and see a soccer match because I love it. So whether it's at Chelsea in London or, seeing a small team like Crystal Palace and sitting in a pub and drinking with two old guys who've been Crystal Palace fans all their lives, I find that going to a soccer match is unbelievable. When I was in Munich and I was in Munich and I got on a train to Hamburg when Landon Donovan was playing over in Germany to go see him play, and I went and saw him play. It was unbelievable. There's nothing like the passion. Chad, fair to say? There's nothing like it.
Yeah, extremely. And people always ask me about the comparison between the NFL and soccer, and the Super Bowl, which is our biggest event. The atmosphere of the Super Bowl is nowhere near the atmosphere at a soccer match, just a regular soccer match. It's hard to explain. It's something that you would have to experience for yourself. I mean, people, those of you listening, man, you have to experience a soccer game in Europe. It's unbelievable.
And people say, okay, all right, it's just a game, it's hype. No, it's unbelievable.
What is it, though? I guess the thing is, what is it about it?
I will tell you this. I'll tell you, James. I'll tell you. The passion of the fans. I went last time I was in London. I was there for a junket for Steve Jobs, and I went to see Fulham play. And Fulham plays at Craven Cottage, which is the oldest stadium in London, and it sits right on the river. And it was a brisk and chilly night, but the whole time you are there, the Fulham fans just sang and yelled and chanted, and and then all of a sudden you find yourself starting to sing with them. And it's unbelievable. And you're walking through, to get there, you have to walk through a park and then a neighborhood, and boom, up pops a stadium. It's the same like going to see Chelsea. You get off the subway, you walk through the neighborhood, and boom, there's a stadium. It's what they are trying to replicate in Seattle, where you walk to the game here in the MLS. You walk to the game downtown, everybody walks together. Because in Europe, you come off the train, everybody's walking together to the stadium, and they've been drinking in the local pubs, and everybody's singing, and there's that, just the atmosphere, even getting ready for the game. We have tailgating, but remember, it's in a parking lot in the middle of nowhere, and it's kind of a sterile environment. This is in the middle of cities, and that's what we miss, that experience here. We've moved our ballparks and everything so far out that you can't get that city experience except a few places here. And, nobody's tailgating in Detroit. Nobody's, walking through the city.
The last thing I heard, you guys were talking about this a little bit earlier now, and we got to figure out how we make this work. And I know how you got. Okay, we got to get a FIFA match between the two of you. And Chad,
I just want to tell you right now, I understand that you have to understand something. I followed Chad. We worked together. We did a show together. I've watched his FIFA game grow for a long time.
Okay.
I understand where he's at.
Right.
And if I just have to defend and shut him down, if I have to take Barcelona